Is the real estate market in a bubble? Is it about to crash? Are prices coming down? Are prices going up? I'm going to do another quick update for you guys on my views on the 2020 real estate bubble. There's been a few more experts that have weighed in, so I'm going to go into my computer. I'm going to show you what they said, and I'm going to tell you how they contrast or agree with what I've been saying for the past 3 years. When the corona started, I said real estate prices were going to go up. Everybody said I was an idiot. So far, I've been right. More experts have weighed in. Blackstone has weighed in. They're the ones buying up all the real estate and making it so that you can't afford it. So let's get into it right now, and I'll tell you what they said.
Shut up and sit down.
Just in case you're new here, this is the Retirement Mentality channel. This is a place where I want to change your mentality about retirement, how you save, how you create passive income, how you can retire early, how you can do it through real estate. If any of those topics are of interest to you, this is the place for you. Welcome to the channel. And today I'm going to talk about the real estate bubble. I've been saying for 3 years there wasn't going to be a real estate crash. Last week I amended, not last week, one of my last videos I amended that a tiny bit, and I said if unemployment goes through the roof and for some reason the labor market gets destroyed, it's the only thing I could see that could cause real estate prices to crash. Because what do you need for real estate prices to crash? You need thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that have to sell their house because of an emergency, because they lost their job, because they can't make their payments. So even in that case, if there's a dip in unemployment, enough people have more equity in their homes than they've ever had right now. So I've been saying, even if there's a slight dip in unemployment and people get stuck and they have to sell their houses, they have enough equity. Houses have gone up like 37% in most places over the past 2 to 3 years. Nationally, they say there's been an 18% increase in the last 12 months. So anybody who put 20% down 2 or 3 years ago and their house has appreciated another 20 or 30% in the past 2 or 3 years, they got tons of equity in there. So if things get crazy and they have to sell their house, the real estate market's crazy, it's going to get gobbled up by the people out there buying houses. And Blackstone has been one of the ones out there gobbling it up. So Blackstone just went all over. He was interviewed, did a bunch of interviews about a month ago. It's been about 3 weeks ago. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to look down here at my computer. So it says Blackstone's Joe Cited calls homes almost as unaffordable as the 2007 peak. Yes, he believes a crash is unlikely due to major differences, which are most owners aren't using their homes like an ATM machine like they were back in 2008. I actually owned a mortgage company back in 06, 07, 08, and I used to joke that people needed a punch card like you get at Starbucks or wherever. Every time you buy 5 coffees, you get one free. I had people coming to me every couple of months and refinancing their house and pulling out more equity because housing prices were going up so fast. They just kept pulling that equity out and buying boats and 4-wheelers and going on trips around the world. So people haven't been doing that. Lending has tightened up significantly after the crash of 08. So this Joe Cited went on to say, by the way, he's the chief financial strategist at Blackstone. He was in an interview with CNBC. He went on to say, that's why people went upside down, because of using their house like an ATM machine, and the value of what they owed was greater than the value of their home. So that goes back to what I'm talking about with so much equity in their houses. People aren't going to be upside down. He goes on to say in this interview that in 2008, they were overbuilding because the market was going crazy. Builders were building like crazy and there was an oversupply of houses. And because of that, the pace of building never recovered since the 2008 crash. So that's one of the reasons we have an undersupply now, that builders just never built at that pace. And the demand has now caught up, and now we have an undersupply of houses on the market. So too much equity, not enough inventory. That's his point so far. This article came out after my last video that I did. So he goes on to agree with me even more. And he says, historically, housing ends up being more highly correlated to the labor markets than it is to mortgage rates. He said, as long as the job market remains relatively healthy, I think housing will do well. So then he goes on to say that he's going to put a 12-month cap on this prediction that he's making. He's not going to go too far into the future because things obviously could change. But he says as long as labor stays strong, housing will stay strong. Okay, this is the most important part. He goes on to say, ultimately, the Fed is going to have to hike interest rates until something breaks. When we do get to a point where something breaks, I don't think it's housing. So he thinks the stock market could break, or bonds could break, or labor could break. But he still isn't predicting that housing market is going to break. He says housing prices generally flatten out. You may have pockets of weakness where home prices in some regions might fall, but the idea of having a national and prolonged drop in housing prices as the economy eventually rolls over, I think, is a relatively low probability. That's exactly what I've been saying for 3 years. This interview was on March 16th. I've had this tab open on my computer for like 3 weeks to do this video, but I've been busy. I had some company in town, so I'm trying to get back to it and give you guys my updates on what the housing bubble is going to do. I got another interesting article. This is from as.com, and I like to get information from different sources, and I didn't even know who this website was, and I googled it, and it says it's the biggest Spanish-speaking sports website. It's a newspaper, Spanish-speaking sports newspaper on the planet. My Spanish-speaking wife, I asked her if she had heard of this, and she said yes. Apparently, AS is like an ace when you're playing cards. So there's an interesting article. The title of it is the housing market going to crash? Here are some predictions from the experts for 2022. This article was written it was updated on June 27th, 2022. So she really only used one expert in this, but she used a couple statistics at the beginning of the article. It says in early June, around 5.8% of households in the U.S. were behind on their mortgage or rent. Compared to this time last year, that number has fallen by 0.04%, which was 6.2%. So less people are behind on their rent or their mortgages this year than they were last year, which is a good sign that people are catching up and that things aren't getting worse. Even as inflation has gone up, people are not falling behind on their rent or their mortgages. Less people are behind now than a year ago. Then she goes on to talk about how much prices have increased, 18% in most places in the last 12 months. She goes on to talk about the Federal Reserve hiking interest rates, and is that going to crash the market? And then the part that I thought was interesting, the expert that she used in her article here is economist Larry Summers, which she has a typo. She said economic Larry Summers. I think she meant economist Larry Summers, has been harshly criticized for claiming that the only way to bring inflation under control is for unemployment to increase to 5%. The article goes on to say, during a speech earlier this month in London, he told a crowd that the U.S. needed 5 years of unemployment above 5% to contain inflation. In other words, we need 2 years of 7.5% unemployment, or 5 years of 6% unemployment, or 1 year of 10% unemployment. Inflation and unemployment are always in direct motion, and an increase in one can often lead to an increase in the other. The Federal Reserve can see that inflation is high, so it then increases interest rates, which slows borrowing in the economy. Demand falls, and firms have to scale back and lay off employees, and unemployment increases. So Larry Summers' idea to kill inflation is to raise interest rates, make people spend less money, make businesses less profitable. Then those businesses have to lay off workers. Then those unemployed workers can't afford their mortgages, and then there will be more foreclosures in the market. That's what he proposed in his speech last month. That's the point that I kind of started to make a month or so ago in my last video, when I said the only thing I could see crashing housing would be the unemployment. But the latest unemployment numbers that just came out last week said that unemployment was staying low and there weren't any problems in the labor market. And I'll quickly go over one more article that I found that was a recent article. This is from Keeping Current Matters, which is a subscription-based real estate data website. I'm not a member of it, but I can see the articles that they put out from time to time. The title of their article is 2 Reasons Why Today's Housing Market Isn't a Bubble, is not a bubble. They did a recent survey and they asked 100 housing market experts, just like not The Price is Right. What was that show? The Family Feud. They would always ask 100 people. So they asked 100 housing market experts and real estate economists if they believe the housing market is in a bubble. The results indicate most experts do not think there is a bubble. I'll put a picture of the graph in here. 60% of these experts say they did not think there was going to be a bubble. 32% said there was, and 8% have no idea what's going on. And if you're an expert, you got to be able to make a prediction. It's not fair. Like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I could be totally wrong in anything that I've predicted. So far, I haven't. So far, I've been right on everything that I've said. But things can turn around. The market is fickle. I always also say all real estate markets are local too. So what I say is in generalities. It doesn't apply to specific locations. Most of my knowledge is based in the panhandle of Florida real estate, and I'm a realtor here in the Virgin Islands, and I own property in Puerto Rico, and I watch those, and I watch national trends, and I listen to what all these experts say, and sometimes I agree, and sometimes I don't, and then I come up with my own opinions. So these experts can't even come up with an opinion. That's my point. So I'll link to all these articles that I cite in this video, but they go through and they list the reasons that they don't think that we're in a bubble. And number one is low housing inventory is causing more home prices to rise. Then they show a graph of home inventory, 2007 up to 2022. And you can see the inventory levels in the graph. I'll pop it in here. Number two, it says mortgage lending standards today are nothing like the last time. Whenever someone says the last time, they mean 2008. So this was an interesting graph I'll put in as well. It shows the lending volume by year, and you can see how much less lending there is now back to 03, 4, 5, 6, 7, leading up to the real estate crash. Okay, so there's my views mixed in with a few more experts who are predicting that we're not going to see a real estate crash anytime soon, at least from what they're saying. Most of them are saying in the next 12 months. And Blackstone probably knows a lot about the real estate market since they have bought up half of the houses in the market in the last 2 or 3 years. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you think there's a crash coming? Do you think I'm still crazy and an idiot? People usually have still been disagreeing with me in my last couple of videos that I've done about, is it going to crash? Are we in a bubble? So let me know what you think. And if you haven't subscribed, please do that, because I'll be doing more of these videos, and I'll be doing more videos on how to buy real estate. Is it a good idea? When should you buy? How to buy investment properties? How to retire early? How to create passive income? So subscribe to the channel, give me a big thumbs up. And if you think I'm an idiot and you think I'm wrong, you're going to want to subscribe to the channel just so that when real estate does crash, you can give me a big fat, I told you so. Thanks for watching.